this video, let's look at comparatives and superlatives. Comparatives and superlatives, or as we say in American English, comparatives and superlatives, are adjectives. Adjectives describe people, places, and things. And the general concept is relatively easy to remember, meaning comparatives compare two things. So if we compare two things, such as the gray boots or the brown boots, then we could say that the gray boots are bigger than the brown boots. So we're using a comparative, bigger and than. So with the comparative, we're going to use the verb plus er plus the word than. With superlatives, superlatives compare more than two things. So when we have, let's say, three or more things, it could be a million things, then we will use the superlative adjective. So the green boots are the biggest boots of all of the boots, as you could see. Now, in comparatives, we compared just two boots. However, we're comparing three boots here. So superlatives are going to, in a lot of cases, add est, but in some cases, we'll add the word most. But let's take a look at that. So now let's take a look at some general rules for spelling and usage of comparatives and superlatives. One rule at a time. So the first rule we're going to look at is one-syllable adjectives. And what we will do is for a comparative, we will add er to the one-syllable adjective and ending more than one consonant. And superlatives will just add the letters st. So the first adjective we have here is tall. A comparative comparing two different people, places, or things. Taller than. Superlative is the tallest, and equality is as tall as. The example that we have here is, my sister is tall, but my brother is taller than she is. The next example that we have is the word small. Small as an affirmative. Comparative is smaller than. Superlative is smallest, and equality is as small as. Example that we have here is, that is the smallest car I've ever seen. And the last example that we have here in this category is smart. And then the comparative is smarter. And in American English, the T kind of softens, so it's not smarter, but it's smarter. And when you say it quickly, it's smarter. Superlative is smartest, and the equality is as smart as. The example that we have here is, my friends argued who was smarter, Albert or Elon. Here we have one-syllable adjectives that end in E, the letter E. So if it's a comparative, then we're going to add an R to add it to make it a comparative. For a superlative, we'll just add st. First example adjective that we have here is large. First example adjective that ends in E, that is. Large. Comparative is larger, and the superlative is largest. The equality is as large as. The example sentence we have here is, I would like a large drink, please. The second adjective that ends in E that we have here is cute. And in American English, the T disappears or softens a little bit. It doesn't completely disappear, but cute. Not cute, but cute. The comparative is cuter. And here we have a T to D sound switch or pronunciation switch. So instead of cuter, it's cuter. And superlative is the same pronunciation. Cutest. And equality is as cute as. The example sentence or question we have here is, what do you think is the cutest animal? The third example adjective that ends in E that we have is wide. The comparative is wider. Superlative is widest. and the equality is as wide as. The last adjective that we have here, example, that ends in E, is nice. The comparative is nicer. The superlative is nicest. And the equality is as nice as. The example sentence we have here is, the yellow dress is just as nice as the blue dress. Now let's look at one-syllable adjectives ending in more than one vowel. So with comparatives, we're going to add the letters ER, and with superlatives, we're going to add the letters ST. So the example we have here is, the first example is the adjective free. It has two vowels here, two letter E's. The comparative is freer, superlative is freest, and the equality is as free as. With the example, you can see, I feel free on weekends, but I feel freer during vacations. The second example adjective we have that has two vowels or a long vowel sound, we have the color blue. This also is true for any color like gray. Well, the color gray, Gray, ends in two vowels or a long vowel sound. So with blue, comparative is bluer, superlative is bluest, and equality is as blue as. The example sentence that we have here is, that shade of blue looks bluer than the other shade of blue. So a shade is like a type of a color, so it might be light blue, really dark blue, or whatever type of blue. Some colors have other colors mixed in, so that shade of blue looks bluer than the other shade of blue. The last example adjective we have here that ends in two vowels or a long vowel sound is the word true. The comparative is truer, the superlative is truest, and the equality is as true as. The example sentence we have is, when there are multiple truths, which is the truest? The next rule for usage of comparatives and superlatives is when an adjective ends in a consonant, a short vowel, and a consonant. So we'll call this CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant. The rule is to double the last letter and add ER for comparatives and add EST for superlatives. So the first adjective, the example we have here is big. We will add the consonant and then ER for comparative, bigger. For superlative, again, add the consonant and then add EST for biggest, and equality as big as. Example sentence, John has a big family, but his wife's family is bigger. The next example sentence we have, or example adjective we have here that ends in a T as a short vowel and begins with a consonant, vowel, consonant, is hot. And the comparative is hotter. In American English, we're going to pronounce this with a D, hotter. The superlative is hottest. And again, American English pronounced with a D sound, hottest, and equality is as hot as. The example sentence we have here is, this will be the hottest day of the year. Hottest. The last adjective that we see here in this category of consonant, vowel, consonant is wet. And the comparative is wetter. Again, with a D sound in American English. Wettest is the superlative, and as wet as. Example sentence here is, these towels are as wet as they were when we turned the dryer on. The dryer must not be working. In this next category of adjectives, comparative and superlative adjectives, we have adjectives, two-syllable adjectives ending in Y, two-syllable adjectives ending in Y. The rule for a comparative is to remove the Y and add IER to the end of the adjective, and with superlatives, you will add IEST to superlatives. The first example of this category is early, comparative is earlier, superlative is earliest, and equality is as early as. The example sentence we have here is, I have an early class next semester. The next adjective we have here is crazy. The comparative is crazier. Superlative is craziest. And the quality is as crazy as. The example sentence is, that is the craziest story I've ever heard. The next example adjective we have in this category of dropping the Y and adding IER or IEST with a two-syllable vowel, we have the word messy. The comparative is messier, superlative is messiest, and the equality is as messy as. The example sentence we have here is, my roommate last year was messier than you are. The next example adjective we have here in this category is funny. The comparative is funnier. The superlative is funniest. And the equality is as funny as. The example sentence is, what is the funniest movie that you have ever seen? Now, the last adjective here does not fit into this category, but however, it is the most commonly, let's say, erroneously employed or wrongly used comparative and superlative adjective. Because many people will say, in regards to something being fun, they might say funner and funnest. And even though people understand what they mean by that, it's not actually grammatically correct. So I have placed the adjective fun here to clarify. So if something is fun, but something is even more fun, then it's more fun. Most fun is out of 3 or more events or experiences that were fun, and the equality is as fun as. And the example sentence is, what is the most fun vacation you have ever had? And in this category, we have 2-syllable adjectives that don't end in Y. And with the comparatives, we're going to add more, or the word more, plus the adjective plus than. So it's kind of a mathematical equation here. So before the adjective, we add more. After the adjective, we add than. With a superlative, we actually add the word most and then the adjective. So let's look at the first example in this category. Generous. And then the comparative is more generous than, because generous is generous. That's 3 syllables. It doesn't end in Y. The superlative is most generous, and the equality is as generous as. The example sentence we see here is, people feel the most generous around the holidays or holy days, maybe. The second example in this category of a multi-syllabic word, meaning 2 or more syllables, beautiful has 3 syllables, doesn't end in Y, so more beautiful than, most beautiful, and as beautiful as. In my opinion, sunflowers are the most beautiful flowers. And then we have the next adjective in this category, multiple syllables, difficult, not ending in Y, there's 3 syllables. More difficult is the comparative, most difficult is the superlative, and as difficult as is the equality. The common question is this test going to be difficult or as difficult as the last one? And then the last adjective in this category is the word adjective interesting. And American English speakers, some might say interesting, but most people say interesting. More interesting is the comparative, most interesting is the superlative, and as interesting as is the equality. Example sentence we have here is, this movie is much more interesting than the first movie we started watching. And the last category of adjectives, comparative and superlative adjectives, are the irregular comparatives and superlatives. And I call them the words with rules of their own. Maybe they're a little obstinate or a little bit, they don't want to follow rules, right? But they're kind of fun. You have to memorize them. The first word is good. The comparative is better, and in American English, we're going to pronounce it with a D sound, better. The superlative is the best, and then the equality is as good as. So we're going to go back to the affirmative within the equality. The example is, she is a good player, but with more practice, she will be better. And then maybe someday she'll be the best. The next irregular adjective for comparative and superlatives will be the word bad adjective. The comparative is worse. The superlative is worst. And the equality is as bad as. The example sentence we have here is, what is the worst pizza you have ever eaten? And the next adjective is the adjective little. American English, we're going to pronounce it with a D sound, little. Comparative is less. Superlative is least. And the equality is as little as. The example sentence is, Jane has less than everyone, meaning the sentence is comparing Jane's amount with everyone else's as a group. So Jane is less than everyone. She has the least amount. And so it challenges you a little bit to understand the concept of how in this sentence we have Jane being compared with the entire group, basically, comparison to everyone else. And then in this sentence, she has the least amount in comparison to each individual person. And the next word, or the next pair of words, the last one for comparatives and superlatives, we've seen these already, more and most. For the word much or many, we're going to use the comparative more. For a superlative, most. And then the equality would be as much as or as many as. So the example sentence is, you have as many chocolates as I do. And this has been a video on comparatives and superlatives.